I'm Huples Cat, and this is the first ever edition of Armchair Prepper Book Club. You may not have the book, but I suggest you get it. You don't need it, but you can follow along a lot better if you've read the chapters before I go on about it. Selco and Cowern have been associated for a while, and they've been running courses for people who've got a lot of money to go to Yugoslavia, the former Yugoslavia, and do their course in the real. And then for some reason something happened in 2020. People couldn't travel very well. So they did this book. This book is a distillation of their wisdom, what you get from the online courses and also from the in-person courses. Though obviously doing the in-person courses would be the way to go if you have the money.
When will this nightmare end? I woke up and took a deep breath. The bad smell of smoke, waste and decaying bodies was still there and made me instantly throw up. My stomach didn't feel better or worse than yesterday. The last time I had something to eat must have been 3 days ago.
The book is designed as an actual course for urban and wilderness survival during violent off-grid and worst-case scenarios. Sounds brilliant, sounds right up my alley. But can actually reading a 388-page book prepare me to survive catastrophe in the wilds and in urban environments? Let's find out over the next few weeks. The book consists of 6 chapters, and it promises to be no fluff, just solid information. And largely that's what I found. So let us begin our book club by examining Chapter 1. Chapter 1 is the introduction, first steps, and the psychology of survival. The first lesson we get is you need a group to survive. I actually agree with this. We encourage you not to make the mistake many preppers do and think you can buy safety. It takes time and practice to learn today what our ancestors have been learning and practicing their whole life. Survival and preparedness go hand in hand, but you will always have your skills and knowledge, and making the right decision at the right moment matters more than anything else. This is very consistent with Selco's solo book, his first one. All I carry with me. A good motto. No matter what your preps are, you might be severed from them. But crucially, Selco claims, and I agree with him on this, that being a pure survivalist or being a pure emergency preparedness prepper is a mistake. You need to have both attributes. Page 8. Have a plan, but expect that it will fall apart. Things change, especially in survival scenarios, because so many other factors influence what happens. You need to make a plan and have a goal you work towards to stay motivated. However, you should be mentally prepared to abandon your plan and make a new one at any time. Selco includes a bunch of what-ifs on page 9. Be hopeful, confident, but not overconfident. Do not get down mentally. However bad it gets, focus on the now. Focus on making survival tomorrow safer and easier. His first skill is resilience, coping with stress. This is very important. There's a whole bunch of methods of doing this. Mostly breath control is what you want to be looking at. Take a deep breath in through the nose. And repeat. Don't allow adrenaline to course through your body and freak you out and get you to make the wrong decisions. On page 11 he says that this does not work for many other scenarios because every crisis is different. So while you can't modify flight or fight response as much as you might like, you can learn to recover quickly and quickly access your knowledge and rational thinking abilities, which might end up saving your life. I disagree here with Selco and Cowern, sort of. Training your mind and your body in different ways absolutely will make your resilience and your ability to cope with fear and stress much easier in an actual crisis situation. Train, train, train. Whereas most preppers just watch, watch, watch. And some even just go talk, talk, talk. Get out there, get training. I was ploughing snow at 7 AM, not because I had to, because I needed to. I need to for training. Talks a lot about fight or flight. You don't really need to know much of this stuff, but it's always interesting. Page 14 and 15 he talks about fear. This is an acronym. Fight or flight, emotional release, acceptance, and return to action. Overall, this is detailed and a good information on handling fear, but it does seem to fail to mention breath control. Simple, easy, portable skill to cope with adrenaline surges. On page 18, they talk about situational awareness. Basically knowing what's going on around you is crucial on many levels for survival. Having the right background information to make sense of situations is something you can gather right now and will help you make better decisions later on. This page boils down to knowing your area very, very well. This doesn't mean driving through it on a summer day. This means walking on all weathers through various parts of it. Really know your bug out location and your home area extremely well. If they're the same thing, really know them well. How can you take a shortcut if you think you're being pursued? How can you make a shortcut and grab a weapon if you're being pursued? Think about it. Learn your area. You might get lost like I do, but it's kind of fun. Always carry a compass and let somebody know approximately which direction you're going in. Have lots of these. For those of you under a certain age, these are called maps and they're printed on paper. They're not on your iPhone. In most catastrophic human and natural caused environments, relying on GPS on your phone is a huge and colossal mistake. Map reading using paper is a skill. You must practice it before the crisis hits. And if you want to, go to Google Earth and print out stuff. I used to when I lived in suburbia. I don't here because, to be frank with you, Google Earth where I live is very, very blurred and kind of pointless. And don't forget to take copies of these printed maps. These are just a few I have for my area. Obviously I'm not showing you where it is. If you have great knowledge beforehand, you know which homes are occupied and unoccupied, you know which areas or industries or buildings you may want to loot first before other people do, bearing in mind that's a crime and should only be done for survival. Where can I get water from? Do I have springs, wells, building reservoirs, swimming pools, etc.? What's near me that I can use safely if everything goes wrong? I would include trees on this, trees that are down on the ground that you can manipulate and use very easily to make firewood is a good idea. But let's go beyond that. When does the sun go up and when does it go down where you live? Do you know that all year round? Again, I'm not going to tell you the times because I don't want to give out my location. But if the sun rises at 6 a.m. and sets at 8 p.m, you know you only have light during those hours. Wandering around shining a flashlight, especially in an urban area, is probably not the smartest move, certainly not initially in an SHTF. What are the usual temperatures where you live? This means wind chill and humidity. Driving around in a car does not get you conditioned to your area, nor does it really teach you what the conditions are like in July and January. Getting out there, walking, swimming, snowshoeing, biking, whatever, get out there, walk around. On pages 19 to 22 he lists a bunch of disasters. Man-made threats, human-caused threats, natural disasters, local threats and problems, secondary effects. Remember, an SHTF probably won't just be one issue. Know your important structures, have paper maps, mark your important structures on it, be aware of how to get in and out of those areas safely. And then he has hotspots, areas of probable threat in SHTF. This could be people as well. And finally kicks it off with a list of strategic ideas that you want to look for and know very, very well in your areas. In human-made disasters, he doesn't mention the biggie. Big one is a nuclear accident, whether from a power plant or military use. May not be nuclear war, but a nuclear accident is going to give you a really bad time. He doesn't mention pollution. General pollution from cars if you live near highways, etc., or industrial area. That's going to shave years off your life. Think about it. That's a SHTF waiting to happen when you get older. Maybe relocate now, if you can. And they obviously don't follow a channel called Praxis Prepper. They haven't listed alien invasion as a threat. Yes, an alien invasion is a very, 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 very low probability event, but it would have a massive impact if it happened, whether it's hostile or not. As a prepper, think through every single thing that could possibly go wrong, from a windstorm knocking out your roof, to power outages, to a nuclear war. Think about how you would respond, how you could respond to each of these events. That's what preppers do. They then buy gear to try and weather the storm. This is good, it's also bad. Now if you're a survivalist, you're going to go, I don't need any of that. I can set fire to the forest just using my fingernails. I can hunt squirrels and eat them raw, etc., etc. Survivalists are an odd bunch. But you need file skills, you need training in them, and you also need prepper skills. You need both. So Selco and Cowern really push having information, personal information that you've personally seen and observed and looked for, good quality news information and event information that can help you identify and cope with possible future SHTFs.
We want information.
You can buy a really advanced guided counter, or just read this book, or even worse, just watch somebody's video on it. Be skeptical of information, read it carefully, cross-reference the information. So what do we want? Information. Unfiltered would be local, border, emergency personnel, law enforcement and politicians, criminals as well. Who do you know that could give you a forewarning of an event before it actually became obvious to you? Cultivate friendships. Network of friends will help you in the now and will help you in SHTF. Bear in mind that all news media have agendas, so use different sources like I said. We humans tend to suffer from confirmation bias, and that means we try to find information that confirms our ideas and beliefs instead of listening to information that might prove us wrong. We want to be right and hear about things that fit into our worldview, but this is dangerous and can lead to an incorrect assessment of current events. For example, human-caused climate change. Quite a few people watch my channel absolutely reject the scientific evidence that that's even a factor. Of course, if you live in France right now, you might not reject that evidence. You need to prepare for a human-caused climate change, worst case, even if you don't believe in it. And if you do believe firmly in human-caused climate change, you might want to not just focus on that as an aspect of prepping. Are you neglecting other areas? He talks about the internet. Again, local, international, multiple sources is what you actually want to do. Google News alerts. Use facts, not opinions. When I do my Thursday fun videos, which is the most popular part of my channel, strangely enough, I don't know why I thought this would be, I find videos that I find amusing or interesting or sardonic, and I copy them down, I edit them together, I look at copyright and I shove them up. People really like it. It's a distraction from the obvious. People often ask me, Huples Cat, how do you get all of these weird videos? Because I look at multiple news sources. News is tailored, content is tailored to what you're looking at. So if you look at multiple different types of news, multiple different types of opinion, you'll get a lot more varied internet viewing. On page 24, he suggests getting a small portable TV to keep in your car. Most TV channels in North America are digital, so it won't work. Charming idea though. We used to have these little TVs back in the 90s where we used to watch TV on a little screen, and you could plug it into your car and watch TV. As a general idea, don't do that, even if you can. You should not be driving, listening to CNN or Fox News going on about North Korea sending a nuclear missile into China. But I do agree with him about having these. I have at least two. I have more than two, and some are actually in Faraday cages. This is called a radio, and it'll work long after the information on this stops coming to you. The one I got solar powered and hand cranked. Hand cranks are great, but be very careful with them. They will break. Remember, in an SHTF crisis situation, try to preserve everything you've got. You may not be able to get new ones. Keep them charged up. This is due for one, that's why I brought it up here. It also has a light, and it also has a siren, but I'm not going to put that on. It's really loud. Turn the radio on. I'm very off-grid, so I have to do this.
Experience the work of the Bridging Community Crochet Project by Emma.
We're very lucky in Canada. We have a thing called the CBC radio. Hopefully the Conservatives won't win the next election like they're supposed to, and if they do, hopefully they won't stop the CBC. It's an absolutely critical source in SHTF. Yes, it's government channel, but it will give you really good local news if there's an event. Try and get one with shortwave radio capacity, and also try and get one with NOAA capacity if you're in North America. Nice add-ons to have. Again, they may not be that great for you, especially if it's a huge global event, but it's always nice to know what's going on in South Africa if you can find it. You could of course invest a lot of money and time and get a scanner for local law enforcement. But again, I would point out, most of these people are now moving to digital, so you won't be able to hear it even if you have a radio scanner. Now a radio scanner might be able to tell you who's using radios in your area, which may or may not be something you might want to do in the event of a grid down situation. Now I believe most SHTF events will be silent. I won't get news, it'll just happen. Even if I know something's going on. Once it hits, if it's a global event, my radios, my TVs, my cell phone, even my Baofeng radio devices are not going to pick anything up. From there on in, my world will be 5 to 10 kilometers from where I live, and that'll be it. It will be silent until we can get technology back up again. Page 25, Selco and Cowern actually follow this really interesting section on information by saying what to do once you have no access to current information anymore. But even if it doesn't, the big picture is pointless. Let's think about something that consumes Americans. 9/11. Where were you when 9/11 hit? When did you first find out about it? How did you react to it? The truth of it was, it only affected 2 tiny areas of the United States of America. A lot of people overreacted. Now, a lot of people underreacted in the areas affected, but that's another issue altogether. That's why you need to train. But what about an event like Y2K? For those of you, again, who are too young to know, we expected all the computers to stop working, all the power stations to fail and explode on New Year's Day 2000. It was called Y2K. A lot of people across the globe spent a lot of time, effort and money fixing the problem. So when it hit, it hardly happened at all. A lot of people prepared for the worst, and that was a good thing, but as soon as the worst happened, they gave up on it and laughed about it. Again, confirmation bias. Y2K, if we hadn't have dealt with it, would have been catastrophic. On page 27, they tell you to create an emergency communications plan. Figure out first, though, who are you actually responsible for, and who do you wish to contact? This may be a limited list because you may not be able to contact everybody you are responsible for, so prioritize it. On page 28, they ask you, what's your typical lifestyle? Do you travel a lot? Do you use subways, buses, highways every day? If so, what's your plan if you get information about SHTF whilst in those positions, or even worse, if the SHTF hits while you're on the subway? How far away are you from your contacts? How often and for how long do you wish to contact them? Now, part of the communications plan is cell phones, radios, CB, etc. However, I will point out that all of these will eventually fail, if not right away, very quickly after a global SHTF. If you have a cell phone, don't send pictures or emojis, just send very quick texts, brief texts. They may or may not get through. Have drop locations if you live urban. I think this is a wonderful, wonderful idea. These are locations that are out of the way, that are easy to get to, that are safe to get to, and would be safe to get to in SHTF, where you can leave messages for one another if you can't actually meet up. If you do have radio or cell phones that are actually functional, use them to listen at specific times, use them to send messages at specific times. This is part of your communications plan. Now, something I've already done, and I do this for passwords, is write all numbers down. Don't assume you will remember your cell phone number in the event of a catastrophe. Now, this is always going to be more for local events. Let's face it, the first strike full-on nuclear war, none of this stuff's going to work, but it's nice to have it set up for snowstorms. Now, another great idea, and I'm going to steal this, is have a chain. Say, for example, you're A, most preppers are A, and you need to contact B, C, D in SHTF. Do you? Maybe you can contact C, and C can contact D, and D can contact B. You would also have B contact D, and D contact C, and C contact you. Break it up, have the chain of communication going both ways. The idea of having meeting places where you would actually meet up if an SHTF happens is kind of controversial. I'm not altogether sure I'm actually in favour of this. I think if you have young children or disabled relatives who you wish to save in a global catastrophe, it might be a good idea. But generally speaking, you're probably going to have to go there to rescue them. Now, children who are 7 years of age or older are quite capable of walking 5 kilometres home, and they need to do so. We will talk about children later on. Obviously, most schools in North America will not allow them to have knives and etc. in their school kits, but can you hide them safely near the school so the kid can go out of the school as soon as the SHTF's apparent to them, grab the kit, and then make their way safely home. Don't have one plan, have 2 or 3. We talk quite a bit about alternative ways of communicating. For most of us in North America, this is going to be simply the bowfang. Have a bowfang, have set up channels in advance that you can use. Get trained in it if you can. If not, use them only in a global catastrophe and be very careful what you say on it, but have everybody who's got one aware of which channels and which times to switch on and listen or talk. If for whatever reason you're in a security compromise situation, I have a code word that I would say, or Kitty would say, probably me, which means that in the next 10 seconds I'm going to launch myself at that person in the room with intent to kill to save myself and Kitty. And in the next 10 seconds, I want her to go, okay, and create a huge distraction. Has obvious applications in the real world now, as well as in SHTF. Signals outside the house to let people know when they're approaching the house that the house is not safe to enter, again, are a good idea. But be cautious with them. You may not be able to actually activate the signal, but if you can use signals like that, make them simple and completely not obvious. Now, what you might want to do is get satellite phones. Ham radio, stuff like that. This is all going to cost a ton of money, and I'm not recommending it. Technology tends to fail. On page 33, he gives advice about how to actually use the radio. Kind of straightforward, but good advice. I do like code words, I really do. I think it's absolutely important. Be careful with your code words. Does the code word in itself imply the home base? Do the code words actually tell people how many people you're talking to or how many people are talking to them? Think paranoid, especially in a global disaster if you have radio capacity. People can triangulate radios, so you might want to move around quite a bit before you use it. Whole bunch of things you can do. Depends on the situation. Now, you do want to have backup power for everything, not just one backup power. Most people focus on a generator. With the pandemic in 2020, several people I know bought gasoline-powered generators in case the mains power failed. I guess people were going to die and not be able to repair the hydro lines. Wow, that's a lot of money and really not going to last very long because you're not going to be able to get any gasoline if the power's out. And even if you store gasoline, it's still not going to last that long. As a bridge in some types of disasters like ice storms or snowstorms or general windstorm power outages, especially in rural areas like I am, you might want to invest in that kind of technology. I certainly have done. But in an urban environment, you might have been better off spending that money you spent on the generator buying solar panels, especially ones that are portable, or buying a decent wood stove that works really well with limited smoke. He talks a lot about signalling, and I've covered some of it already. One of the things he doesn't mention, I think he should have mentioned it. It's actually for rescue, but at night, a chem light is absolutely brilliant, especially on string. This is an extremely popular topic, and I really don't know why. It's EDC. Selco and Cowern's list is on pages 35 to 36. Pistol with 2 magazines, pocket knife, flashlight, cell phone, keys, lighter, some hard candy. Additional carry sometimes, pen light, EMT shears, rescue blanket. We should all carry EDC. I carry an EDC, it's called the clothing and shoes I'm wearing. I also carry a small folding knife. That is it. I'm never that far away from my gear, and if I am far away from my gear because I'm hiking, I carry a much more extensive kit than this, and I actually carry first aid stuff. Wrapping in a foil blanket and cutting the clothes off, and then what are you going to do? Another hugely popular prepper topic is a budget EDC, because let's face it, you want to save money when you're trying to save your life. Totally disagree with that. Nothing should be budget. You get the best quality tool you can get for the money you have available. You might have to wait to get that tool, but wait for it. Oh yeah, and use it so you know how to deal with it in a crisis. So this is an example of a budget EDC. A big mini lighter. Get some more. Lighters are always good to have, and in some cases of SHTF to trade. Totally disagree with that. Get a full-size big lighter and have more than one. A small capsule with tinder such as cotton pads with Vaseline. This is for fire starting. Absolutely unnecessary, especially in an urban environment, but if you want to carry something like that, feel free. A lightweight and sturdy Mora knife, which I happen to have one here. This is a Mora knife. These are good, quality, cheap. Oh, you might want to get something like this. This is a martini knife from Finland. This actually costs about 20 to 25 Mora knives. It has a much nicer grip, much nicer blade. I'd like this. 25 of these or one of these. Basically, you're a fool if you don't go for 25 of these. But then you have storage problems and you have to carry your storage around. I like having good quality gear that I can afford. I also like having cheap gear that I can throw away and lose if I need to. Now you should have noticed something about these two lists. What did you notice about them? Well, you should have noticed that they're extremely urban focused. If I'm having a gun battle with a neighbour where I live, pistol's not really that much use. There's a lot of trees between me and the neighbour. A single shot rifle for hunting. Wow, I can take out anybody I want. Just sit where I am and wait. You have a couple of magazines. So you're expecting what? 20, 25, 30 shots and then that's it? You're done? If you're faced with a mob, that might not be sufficient. Would you not be better off having a compass and some water so you can actually hide or take a really long route to avoid having to use a pistol? Well, thank you for that. That was great. You may have noticed something. 388 pages and we've covered 37 pages, and I cover them pretty briefly. There's a lot more information in this book than you're ever going to get from watching me. Watching me is easy. Read the book, get the book, and then watch me. And then let's dialogue in the comments. Let's learn from each other. I am no expert, nor is Selco, nor is anybody with a YouTube channel. We've picked up stuff, we've tried stuff out. Works for me, might not work for you. Location, location, location. Depends on the SHTF. So thanks for watching. I hope you appreciated it. Please feel free to give me a subscription. It really helps with my motivation. Otherwise, I'm just going to do animal videos all the time. Have a great day. Toodles. This has been a Fat Cat production 2025. Wolfie's a bit put out by the cat, but he'll get over it.